The Qatar Masters is a very strong open tournament happening right now, and it has got top players like Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, Anish Giri, and Gugesh playing. In round two of the tournament, we saw the biggest upset of the tournament, and maybe even the whole year. The latest Grandmaster from Kazakhstan, the 23-year-old Alisher Suleimanov, rated 2515, defeated the world number one Magnus Carlsen in the second round. So let us see how he did that. Magnus was black. Suleimanov played d4. Magnus played knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, and Magnus goes for the Queen's Indian defense. Now Suleimanov plays a3, covering the b4 square, bishop a6, queen c2 defending the c pawn, and now bishop b7 back, knight c3, c5, e4. So this is all theory. Takes, bishop c5, knight goes back, knight c6, and b4. The whole point of playing a3 to gain space. Bishop goes back, and now bishop b2. So comfortable position for white. Magnus goes queen b8 in this position. Queen b8 is also a theory. Oh, actually, there are no moves in this with this move, so it's probably a novelty. What are the common moves in this position? d6 is almost always played. Anyway, so queen b8, and now rook d1, castles, bishop e2, d6, and castles, and rook c8, putting pressure on the c pawn. So position is fairly even right now. The queen is sitting on b8. It's a little bit crammed over here, but apart from that, black is fine. Here, rook e1. So Suleimanov plays just comfortable moves like rook e1, rook d1. Everything is perfectly placed for white. Carlsen doesn't mind. He goes bishop f8. Suleimanov plays bishop f1, and now knight e7, preparing the d5 break, and maybe rerouting the knight to g6 and f4, and then playing d5. Knight b5, putting pressure on the pawn. How do you defend it? Knight e8 was chosen by Carlsen. Knight g6 was possible here. That would allow this, but that seems all right. So this was the first big moment of the game. Carlsen played a passive move, thinking position is fine. What's a big deal? Next he can play a6 and then play d5 at the right time. But Alisher Suleimanov grabs the moment with knight to g5. What is the point, you might ask? Won't the knight just get kicked? Before we play e5, black will play h6, right? But what Carlsen missed here probably was, if h6, Suleimanov was ready to sack the knight on f7. Now how will the game continue? King takes, and now comes e5, putting pressure on d6. If you take, bishop takes wins material. The queen is trapped. You'll have to give material. So best option would be playing rook d8. Now we just take, knight takes, and now we transfer the queen here to the king side with the bishop breathing fire on this diagonal. The position is completely good. Now there is pressure on e6, and how do you defend it? So if you go bishop c8 or queen c8, let's say bishop c8, then knight takes, or is there a better option? c5. The point being, after takes, wait, takes, knight can go to b7 though, right? If knight b7, then bishop e5 comes. That's the point. Bishop e5 comes. It's just completely dominating position for white with all the active pieces. Even the bishop that's doing a good job defending the knight. So after knight e8 and knight e5, Carlsen cannot play h6, which he must have realized now. So he took time here. He took 8 minutes almost here, and he played knight g6. And now e5 anyway. Pawn d5 was played. If you play pawn takes pawn, what would have happened? Bishop takes pawn. The knight can't take back. It's checkmate on h7. So that is a problem. So here Carlsen played d5, and now queen b3. Nice move, stepping out of the file, out of the pin sort of. And now bishop e7, and here comes the sack. The knight was destined to give itself up on f7. So knight f7, the point being, after king takes, the same ideas as before. There is pressure, the pieces are active. and there is pressure along the center, especially on the e6 pawn. So now white can do this, right? So takes back, and here comes another big move. Rook takes d5. This is a 23-year-old playing against the world number one, and it's a full rook down now. It's a full rook down, but the king is stuck. King f8. Now, how to continue though? What are the plans? Is bishop c4 enough? Then black can give back some material, right? So he continues with knight d4, threatening knight e6, and then mate incoming, right? So Carlsen defends it with knight f4 attacking the queen. The queen just steps back, pinning the knight. You can't defend the knight anymore. Yeah, you play g5, you'll anyway lose to g3, lose the piece to g3. So he is getting back some material. So Carlsen played king g8, and now uh, Alisher got back a piece. So basically, he's now in exchange now, and there is a lot of compensation for it. Queen b7, knight f5. So basically, now plans for white would be pawn e6 is one idea. Knight d6 is also in the air, and then bishop d3. The position is just great. And right now, there is a threat of bishop a6. Bishop a6, queen takes, and knight e7 is a big threat. And how do you stop it? Like in this position, let me see, what is the most natural move? If you go something like rook d8, then bishop a6. And the queen has to lose connection to the bishop because queen c7 is possible. But queen c7, there's knight h6. Pawn takes, bishop c4. The king is getting crushed over there. King g7, there's queen f7, and then king h8, queen g8 checkmate. You'll have to give up the queen. The position is just gone after knight f5. It's just an exchange down, but there's a lot of compensation for white. And here Carlsen played an uncharacteristically bad. Everything is bad for him. But the best chance would have been to play a5 to stop bishop a6. Right? So, and the knight can't move. That's a big problem for black. He can't move the knight to c7 because the bishop's hanging. And the bishop can't move to any good squares as well. So here Carlsen played b5, and now just bishop takes pawn. One piece comes into the game for free. And here Carlsen played bishop f8, bishop c4. What do you do? You can give back material, but then black will not even be up material for all this upgrade. Right? So it will still be completely winning for white. King h8 was played, and now can you find the finish? It's just a simple finish here for Suleymanov. He can defeat the world champion with the next move. Knight h6, and here Carlsen resigns because pawn takes, queen f8 mate. And what do you do? Knight f7 is a big threat. Queen f8 is a big threat. You can't do anything. If you play knight somewhere, you can't even move the knight to any good square. Yeah? You can't even play something like knight d6, free piece. So there's just no defense here. It was a wonderful game by Suleymanov. Carlsen basically got surprised in the opening with knight g5. He underestimated the position after white developed everything. Yeah, here he underestimated the power of knight g5. He did not realize the sacrificial idea of knight into f7, and that is what got him into trouble.